What if I told you there's a country where the national currency is stored on a giant limestone rock that nobody moves, and it still works perfectly fine as money? Or that one small island nation used giant stones as currency for over 1,000 years and the system was so trusted, people didn't even need to physically exchange them. Welcome to Finance with Kieran, where we break down how money really works around the world, and today we're going deep on some of the most fascinating monetary systems ever created, what they tell us about trust, value, and why your wallet looks the way it does. Before we go global, let's get one thing straight: money isn't valuable because governments say so. Well, partly. But really, money works because of collective belief. Every currency on Earth runs on trust. You accept a $20 bill not because the paper is worth anything, but because you trust that the next person will accept it too. Economists call this fiat currency, money backed by faith in a government rather than a physical commodity like gold. For most of history, currencies were backed by precious metals. The US dollar itself was tied to gold until 1971, when President Nixon ended the Bretton Woods Agreement in what economists call the Nixon shock. Overnight, the global financial system shifted from gold-backed money to trust-backed money. So what happens when that trust breaks down? Let's find out. The island of Yap in Micronesia had one of the most unique monetary systems ever documented. Their currency was called Rai, giant limestone discs, some weighing over 4 tons, carved from quarries 250 miles away on another island. Now here's where it gets wild. When a Rai stone was transferred from one person to another, they didn't move it. Everyone on the island just knew it changed ownership. The stone could sit in someone's front yard for generations, but its ownership was tracked entirely through oral community memory. There's even a famous story of a Rai stone that sank to the bottom of the ocean during transport. The community decided it still counted as currency because everyone agreed it existed, they just couldn't see it. Sound familiar? That's basically how digital banking works today. Your money isn't physically sitting in a vault somewhere. It's a number on a screen that people agree represents value. Now let's look at what happens when governments abuse that trust. Zimbabwe in the late 2000s is one of history's most dramatic examples of hyperinflation. The government, facing a financial crisis, started printing money to pay its debts. More money in circulation meant prices spiked. So they printed more to keep up. Prices spiked again. This vicious cycle led to an inflation rate of 89.7 sextillion% in November 2008. Prices were doubling every 24 hours. The government issued a $100 trillion note, and it still wasn't enough to buy basic groceries. Eventually, Zimbabwe abandoned its own currency entirely and let people use the US dollar, the euro, and the South African rand instead. Venezuela followed a remarkably similar path just a decade later. Oil prices crashed, the government kept spending, printed money to cover it, and by 2018 inflation hit over 1,000,000%. Venezuelans started weighing cash instead of counting it, it was faster. What both stories tell us is powerful: a currency is only as strong as the government and economy behind it. When that foundation cracks, the whole system can collapse in months. Not all global monetary stories are cautionary tales. Some are genuinely creative. The Swiss franc is one of the world's most trusted currencies precisely because Switzerland has stayed neutral in global conflicts for centuries. Investors park money there when the world gets scary, it's financial comfort food. The Bitcoin experiment in El Salvador. In 2021, El Salvador became the first country to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender alongside the US dollar. The idea was to help citizens send remittances home without losing 20 to 30% to transfer fees. The results have been mixed, but it remains one of the boldest monetary experiments of the modern era. The East Caribbean dollar is shared by 8 island nations, a monetary union not unlike the euro, where countries give up individual currency control for shared economic stability. And then there's Berkshire in the UK, which has its own local currency, the Berkshire pound, accepted only by local businesses to keep money circulating within the community. Dozens of towns around the world have done similar things with community currencies. Money is one of humanity's greatest inventions and greatest experiments. It's not gold. It's not paper. At its core, it's a shared story we all agree to believe in. The Yapese believed in stone discs. Zimbabweans lost faith in their government's promises. El Salvador is betting on code. And billions of people worldwide wake up every day and accept little pieces of paper as payment for their labor and their time. Understanding how money works, really works, isn't just interesting. It's one of the most important things you can know in a world where economic decisions shape every part of your life. If you want more breakdowns like this, hit subscribe. Next week we're covering how the US dollar became the world's reserve currency and what happens if it ever loses that status. That one could change how you see everything. See you then. Money with Wings.